Freedom. What a powerful word that is. It means so many things to so many different people. But what does freedom actually mean? Isaiah Berlin was a philosopher in the 20th century. He came up with the idea of two types of freedom. And this is a useful way to look at it. The first is negative liberty. This is basically the freedom from. In other words, the government stays out of your business. You are not bothered. You are left to do what you will do. That is negative freedom. Basically, the ultimate negative freedom situation would be anarchy. In other words, the law of the jungle is total freedom in a sense. Every animal is free to eat every other animal. And every animal is free to be eaten. Now, there's some problems with that. Is the child born into a disadvantaged family and a disadvantaged area really as free as the child born with everything at their fingertips? I think not. I think that it's pretty obvious to say that those who are born into a very advantageous situation are probably more free than those who are born in a disadvantageous situation. Now, that's not to say that we need to reduce the child with everything down to the level of the child with nothing. It's actually to say exactly the opposite. It's to say that we actually have to raise the opportunity of every single child. But what that does not mean is just letting them be. See, as negative freedom would say, they're both as free, so let them be. But it means that the body politic should take an active role in its citizens' lives to ensure that equal opportunity and to not let the most downtrodden fall through the cracks. You see, that's positive liberty. What positive liberty is rather than being freedom from, it's actually freedom for. It's what actually gives each person the ladder that they can climb. True freedom ultimately is the process of finding the most rational way to trade off the desire of an individual to do anything he likes and the desire of others not to have individuals doing whatever they like to them. So, as Jean-Jacques Rousseau in The Social Contract put it, there is a body politic, and the body politic acting in the name of everybody is the general will. But that is in contrast to the particular will. In other words, the will or desires of a specific sect, faction, or individual within that society. And because the wants and desires of an individual might very well be totally contradictory to what's best for everybody, it is up to the general body politic to act not in the particular will, as plutocracies do, but to act in the general will, what's best for everybody in the social contract. In other words, as Jean-Jacques Rousseau put it, we must be forced to be free. In other words, again, the state must be devoted to its citizens. I'll say that again. The state must be devoted to its citizens to have a body politic that treats every single citizen as an end unto themselves, not as a means to be exploited. Today we live in a negative liberty world, and what we need is a positive liberty world. Examples of positive liberty would be the Apollo mission, in which a concerted effort was put by the nation to manifest a vision collectively to accomplish an epic goal, sending a person to the moon. The Manhattan Project, again, was the large project of the body politic, the state, towards creating an enormous scientific advance. DARPA is a program in the government that has created very advanced technology, such as the internet, and they create things like exoskeleton suits and so on. Basically things that are investments into developing the military into a more advanced state. Very expensive, but they gather the finest minds in the world to develop these things. But what we need is a new type of positive liberty, not one that only kicks in when there's an existential threat, like against the Russians in the case of the Apollo mission, or against the Japanese and Germans in the case of the Manhattan Project, or as a way to stay on top as the empire of the world, as the DARPA project is meant to do. But instead, we need to have a positive liberty mission that is not warlike, but that creates an Apollo mission, not to send our physical bodies to other planets necessarily, although we should do that. Also to create an Apollo mission of the mind, to develop a vast school network of the best school system that is possible, and make every single child have access to that, so that nobody falls through the cracks. We need to create a Manhattan Project and a DARPA project to develop technologies that can finally lead us into the zeitgeist future, into the Star Trek future, into the type of future that we all envision Nikola Tesla wanted to create for us. But to manifest that by gathering the finest minds and creating that society with a concerted effort. So positive liberty is a type of liberty that is based on a vision, a goal, determination, organization, and a will to manifest what's best for all.
Positive liberty governments are made up of political leaders who think the future can be better than the past, who are extremely inspired and want to in turn inspire their people towards coming together to achieve nothing less than greatness. Positive liberty, in essence, is equated to ambition, while negative liberty is equated to a lack of ambition. What the positive liberty, negative liberty dichotomy ultimately represents is the difference between being reactive and being proactive. The difference between looking to the past and looking to the future, of status quo versus vision, creativity, and inspiration. It's important to understand that the idea of positive liberty fundamentally changes the left-right political debate. Left-wing negative liberty states, for example, would aim to reduce poverty by modest percentage points by tinkering with taxes here and some light legislative changes there. They might offer Pell Grants to help subsidize student loans or raise unemployment benefits. This is all well-intentioned, but is it epic in scope, ambition, and vision? For example, even Bernie Sanders' social democrat platform, which is rightly critical of the pernicious influence of the oligarchy and which is surely an upgrade to the current Reagan-esque corporatocracy, is merely trying to play catch-up with the Nordic economic model. Contrast this to a left-wing positive liberty state, which, by the way, currently does not exist anywhere in the world. This type of state would have platforms so revolutionary and ambitious that the sanitized liberals of negative liberty states would balk at the level of ambition as being overly idealistic, and who would in turn be dazzled by the results. A positive liberty state would definitively destroy the power of corrupt kleptocrats totally. Their explicit goal would reduce the poverty rate to 0%. Their education plan would not be to allot greater funds to education only, or offer Pell Grants, or even free college. It would be to radically transform the education system by congregating experts in psychology and pedagogy to develop a brand new education system from the ground up, tailored for the creation of maximally self-actualized critical thinkers whose inherent strengths and genius are brought out. And not a single child, regardless of familial background, would be denied access. What would the population look like after 20 years after the implementation of such a system? Is there anything such a population couldn't do? A positive liberty state wouldn't settle for unemployment benefits. They would aim to put the entire nation back to work, offer them skills training, and create an infrastructure overhaul to develop nothing less than 100% green energy grids, building new ergonomic cities from scratch, like the Venus Project across the whole nation. It would crisscross the nation with hyperloops. It would allocate the direction and will of the people collectively to spur a cultural renaissance, to build monuments, commission art, and ultimately provide a sacred meaning to what it means to be a citizen of such a state. This is not the goal to be attained in thousands or even hundreds of years. With inspiration, vision, and will, the goal would be to organize the people with urgency to proactively make imminent such an outcome as soon as possible. Because all we've known in recent years is negative liberty, such magnificent vision and ambition is deemed unattainably utopian. This is the tragedy of negative liberty, that it stamps out inspiration and replaces it with cynicism that just drudges along, hoping to make minor adjustments at most. Considering the human race is inherently capable of so much more, negative liberty is nothing less than a tragedy. So, are you inspired? Do you want to tinker with the current world? Or do you want to radically transform it?
If this capsule history of our progress teaches us anything, it is that man in his quest for knowledge and progress is determined and cannot be deterred. The exploration of space will go ahead, whether we join in it or not. And it is one of the great adventures of all time. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.